You're listening to Local Radio. My name is Ben Marshall. I'm very happy to be joined by former Marietta College softball coach Jeanne Arbuckle. Coach, thanks for joining us this afternoon.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So you have graciously agreed to join us and talk about Title IX. And as Marietta College this year and the nation is celebrating 50 years of Title IX, I just want to be clear so that nobody, so that everybody's on the same page, all of our listeners are on the same page. Title IX, no person in the United States shall on the basis of sex be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to the discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. So, Coach, you joined the Marietta College staff in 1987. Talk a little bit about Title IX and how Marietta College has embraced it and what that has looked like over your career.
Well, without Title IX, we probably wouldn't be sitting here talking about the opportunities that girls and women have had in sports. Just the whole athletic department at Marietta College changed dramatically with the introduction of Title IX. Prior to that, there were very few opportunities for women, and the ones that were there were very much an intramural type experience. So Title IX really laid the groundwork for everything we were able to accomplish and continue to accomplish at Marietta College.
And I don't want to, as we obviously 50 years of Title IX, and I don't want to throw out a, sort of an age sort of thing here, but can you remember a time before Title IX and sort of the disparity there?
Well, I certainly can. I'm a product of Title IX, if you will. When I was in ninth grade in junior high, that's when Title IX passed, and at that point in time, the only opportunities for girls were through an organization called GAA, Girls Athletic Association, which many schools had, and it was a very intramural-like opportunity where you could participate in sporting activities. There was no competition with outside teams. There were no high school teams. So the passage of Title IX changed everything.
Interesting. And so Marietta College is doing a year-long celebration around Title IX. Let's talk about your involvement with that.
Well, Larry Heiser put together a group of people, about a year ago, and we all sat down around the table. Larry Heiser, Tom Perry, Debbie Lazoric, Tina Thomas, and I'm missing some other people, but he put together a nice collection of individuals, and we sat down and we just brainstormed ways in which we could sort of celebrate this milestone anniversary.
And so can you talk a little bit about maybe what you come up with?
Well, there are a number of activities that are going to be planned. We have identified over 50 female former athletes, coaches, and others that were influential in Title IX. They're being featured on a weekly basis. There's going to be a couple speakers coming on campus. We're going to have a big banquet in the spring celebrating Title IX. So there's a whole host of activities. And actually, Tom Perry could provide you with all of that information, but we've got a year-long celebration planned, and I think it's going to be a really nice way to commemorate this, like I said, historic moment.
We're talking with Jeanne Arbuckle, former Marietta College softball coach. You're listening to Local Radio. We'll be back with more right after this. You're listening to Local Radio. My name is Ben Marshall, joined by Jeanne Arbuckle, discussing and celebrating 50 years of Title IX. Coach, just in the last break, you mentioned Tom Perry. I listened to a recent interview that he did with current softball coach Jen Castle, and Castle recently said how proud she was to see so many female coaches throughout the OAC, specifically in the sport of softball. Does that sort of go double for you as you see that, but also see Jen Castle at the head of the Marietta College program?
Well, I think it's just terrific that we have a female leading the softball program at Marietta College. I think anytime there can be a woman out there in front, I think it's just great in terms of providing mentorship for young women. So yes, I think that's terrific. And the Ohio Conference has been pretty good at, when possible, hiring females into those head coaching roles.
Is there anything specific that you're working on with Marietta College? We kind of touched on this a little bit as far as, maybe improvements regarding Title IX. What would you hope to see accomplished in the future? Well,
one of the things that's on the table, and we're definitely working on it, is to make some improvements to the softball field. We have a nice facility. I cannot complain about what we have, but we really are lacking with some of the amenities that need to be there. Things like a press box, better seating, just different things to bring that field up to speed. And so that's definitely something that's in the works.
And so specifically, obviously softball is kind of how you made your mark on Marietta College, but you were involved with a lot more throughout Marietta College as well.
Yeah, I coached volleyball and softball for 10 years, and then after that 10-year period, I ended up just coaching softball. And I also had the opportunity to be the associate athletic director in the department. So I was able to be involved with really the whole program, not just the women's sports, but with both the men's and the women's programs.
And obviously, you're still a valued voice on the campus today.
Well, I don't know about that, but I do appreciate when I've had the opportunity to give input, and Larry Heiser has been very good about including me in things. So yes, I appreciate that.
Do you feel like now that we're 50 years into Title IX, there are people out there that maybe now, because obviously there are people there that don't know any different and don't know what happened before Title IX, so people take it for granted and that they just don't recognize that while things are still an uphill battle, it used to be worse.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. The athletes that are playing today really don't know the history, and that's been one of the fun things with this whole celebration of Title IX. We've had some opportunities to have some panels and meet with some athletes and talk about what it was like historically, and the young women are really enthused to hear about how things were and to realize just how far we've come. For example, when I came to Marietta College way back in the 80s, late 80s, the softball field was a sandlot between the dorms. There was no outfield fence. There were no bleachers, no press box. I mean, it was very much a sandlot. We did what we could to improve it and enhance it, and over time, we ended up with a very nice facility. But yeah, we've come a long way, no question about it.
Yeah, and I believe Marietta College softball would play at some of the city parks, or.
Yes, we had a period in time where we were moved off campus because they were building a new residence hall, and we were off campus playing at Hadley Field and Buckeye Park, and those facilities just were not really up to speed. Thankfully, we did get our new field. I guess it's been about 15 years now, but a funny story about that, when I had my interview with then athletic director Phil Roach, we talked about the field, and I expressed to him some concerns about the field, and he said, we're working on that, and within 3 or 4 years, you're going to have a new facility. And I'm here to tell you that it was 17 years later that we finally got that facility. So it was a slow but steady climb to get to that point.
Jeanne Arbuckle joining us today on Local Radio. Thank you so much for your time. Final thoughts as we close up here?
Well, I just think it's so important for us to continue to recognize that as far as we've come, there's still work to be done, and we want to always keep our eye on moving forward and continuing to make sure that both men and women have equal opportunities to participate in athletic opportunities.
You're listening to Local Radio. My name is Ben Marshall. Thanks so much, Jeanne Arbuckle, for joining us.
Glad to be here.